I'm George O'Keeffe. You wanted to see me? Well, this is the front of me. This is the back of me. Now you've seen me. People always ask me the same questions. They always want to know, where did I get the name Georgia? Were you about to ask that?
I was just thinking.
All right, I thought so. Well, you see, I got that because my grandfather, my mother's uncle or something, he was Hungarian, and his name was George. So, my name is Georgia. And don't forget it. All righty? Well, they always want to know, why did I get to be an artist? I'm an artist because when I was 12 years old, I told my little schoolmate, I said, I'm going to be an artist. I had no idea what that was. It was because at that time women could not be an artist. They could teach art, but they could never be an artist. And she said, what kind? Oh, that really stumped me. I didn't know what to say, so I said, a portrait artist. Well, as you know, I hate portraits. I never do portraits. I did one or two. I don't like to do people because they always make shadows. I don't like that. Well, no, what really happened was that once in Lake George, well, I won a prize painting a dead rabbit in a copper pot, and somebody said, oh, you should be an artist. No, that's not why I'm an artist. The reason that I'm an artist is because I don't know how to spell very well, and because my punctuation is awful. And I have all these things that I feel so deeply. I see nature, I see the sun, I see lightning, I see the earth, I see shells, I see so many things, and I feel them so deeply. And I don't know how to express them because I can't write, so I have to paint. Well, I was born in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. You ever been there? Don't bother. At any rate, I was born Georgia Chautau O'Keeffe. I was next to the oldest of 7 children. I was the oldest of 5 girls. I was the tallest, eventually, of all of them. My mother was an Episcopalian. My father was a Catholic. Did that tell you anything about our family? And when they died, well, they were born in different cemeteries. Does that tell you anything about my family? In my house, and we had a rather large 2.5-story old farmhouse. We weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy. We were out there on the plains of Wisconsin. And I guess that everybody had to share a room. We had lots of company, aunts and uncles, and they came, and they stayed all the time. Everybody had to share a room but me. Does that tell you anything about me? Well, they always want to know, did I play with dolls when I was a little girl? Well, of course I played with dolls. I learned how to sew very well. I could sew extremely well. I mean, even later on, I could make my own clothes and things. And I made lots of doll clothes. Our little dollhouse was made out of sort of a portion of cardboard that was folded over like that. And in the summertime, I took it outside of the barn. And I played with dolls out there. Well, my father, they say he had fragile health. Actually, he was an alcoholic. I suppose that gives you fragile health, right? At any rate, he was very good at inventing things. We were the only people in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin that had a telephone. And I was sort of ashamed of my father because he was an alcoholic. And so I told everybody that he was the one that invented telephones. It wasn't Alexander Graham Bell. I got to go to schools. I will say this, that my mother and my aunts that came to stay with us, they were very sort of unusual for women at that time because they thought that women should be very strong. And they gave us all sorts of music lessons. I mean, for a long time I thought I would be a musician. But it's just as well. I played the violin. I played the clarinet for a while. I certainly played the piano. I took classes. But I don't know where I got the idea of being a painter, but I thought that's what I'd like to be. And that's what I became. Well, we went to public schools for a while. I went to Madison High School. For a long time, I went to Sacred Heart Academy. I sort of shook up all the Catholic girls there. They thought I was a little unusual. I always dressed differently. Like if my sisters wore white socks to school that day, I wore black. If they wore black socks that day, I wore white, or pink, or green. I was always that way. My sisters say that I was pushy. I wasn't pushy. I was focused. You see, I've always believed sometimes that if you want something, if you really want something, you have to go get it. Oh, I had two sisters who were very good artists. They could have been good. They could have been successful, but they didn't want it enough. If you want something, if you truly, truly want something, you've got to go get it. And that's what I did. Well, I guess it was long just after the turn of the century when everybody was worried about tuberculosis. And my parents were so afraid they'd get tuberculosis. So my father sold his farm for about $9,000, which seemed to be a lot of money then. And so we moved to Williamsburg, Virginia. We had seen some little pamphlets or something about Williamsburg, Virginia, and we thought that would be a lovely place to live. And so we went there, and we never fit in. Never, never. Why do Southern girls always say, open up the door? It's not a door. It's door. And they thought that I dressed funny. They accepted my mother a little bit because she knew how to sew, and she got accepted to a few tea parties. But the rest of us, well, they sent me off to an Episcopal school, Chatham. I taught the girls there how to play poker. Nothing wrong with that, do you think?